season.
All praises to the horizon, peace, wealth, and wisdom. Today I want to do this deep lesson for you guys, breaking down the understandings of lacking and having an abundance. When living under a system, this being a city, a government, when living under a system, as I said, having an abundance, are you lacking is a matter of materials. This being money, assets, resources, etc. Now, all the materials that a man accumulates living under the system are truly worthless. I say that because the system determines the value of the resource. And so in that, the man becomes a slave of whatever materials he has because he has to work to get them. And so the more a man has, the more he works. And so I want you to grasp, a man will never have an abundance living under the system. If you remove the system and the value that it puts on things. So lacking and having an abundance would boil down to a person always wanting and a person feeling fulfilled. Let that sink into your mind. Lacking is a matter of always wanting. Having an abundance is a matter of being fulfilled. And so what you guys call being fulfilled under the system, which is things like rich and having a lot of material wealth, this is truly lacking, because no one wants more than a rich person or someone who has an abundance of material wealth. Their material wealth is a physical representation of how much the self is lacking. And so I want you guys to grasp that. When living under the system, a man will never be fulfilled or have an abundance, being as though this is all just a matter of the mind. How much one has or how much one doesn't have physically truly means nothing, being as though we all live under the system that puts the value on these things that we must slave for. And so the mind must be freed from the perception of the system, or the perception that it puts on the mind, because the perception that it puts on the mind is what causes one's spirit or the inner self to lack. And once one is on a path of lacking, meaning once the self is lacking, so the self is impoverished or poor. Gaining material wealth is easier than gaining spiritual wealth or wealth of self. And so I want you guys to truly grasp, do not let yourself fall into wanting, having desires to be rich according to the system, because you will become a impoverished soul. You will be lacking. And so it's a very deep thing I want you guys to grasp. You have some that believe wealth is a matter of paper money. You have others that believe wealth is a matter of the resources. But I'll say again, resources are paper money only holds value according to what the system says. If they say the paper holds no value tomorrow, it won't. If they say the resources hold no value tomorrow, they won't. Why? Because you guys do not know, nor are you allowed to use the resources when living under a system. And so in that, just grasp. It's a very deep thing. And so if you're someone who, you know, gets lost into the whole real wealth is the resources. Yes, real wealth are the resources. But this is all still if the mind is bound to the perception of the system. And so if you living in the system, money is wealth. If you become a little more wise under the system, the resources that the money represents is the true wealth. If you become a little more wise than that, you'll realize that the land is where the resources come from, and so that's the true wealth. But when one becomes truly wise, they realize that all of these things only have value under systematic rule. If you remove the system, the only value is the wisdom you have. Meaning, if you know what to do with resources, so then they hold value for that. If you know how to use precious metals and make technology, well, they hold value for that. If you know how to skin an animal and make a leather coat, so you will have a leather coat. But outside of that, these things hold no value in a systematic way. And so I want you guys to grasp. If you live in a city under a system, your mind has been born into lacking, because the mind believes that the wealth is in materials. And once one is on a path of yearning for an abundance of materials, they will always be lacking. Why? Because they will always be wanting. In that, they'll never be fulfilled. And so all in abundance is to be fulfilled. Peace, wealth, and wisdom. God is dead.